Good day, folks. This is your hillbilly historian coming to you from the hills of East Tennessee here in Appalachia. We bring you truth, logic, justice, and the American way. We tell you with reason and logic what is really going on in today's world and in the past. We give you history that you cannot find in your high school and college textbooks. Today, I want to talk about Jekyll Island. Back in 1913, America did not have an income tax. And our people were getting so wealthy, it was unbelievable. It's just how wealthy everybody was getting. America was becoming the most industrialized nation on earth, and our people were just earning money left and right, getting rich and rich and rich. And the government was bringing in so much money from tariffs, they didn't know. They held committee meetings how to spend that money they had so much. And they paid all their debts. By 1913, we'd paid off all the Civil War, the Indian Wars, the Revolutionary War, every war we'd ever been in, we'd paid for everything. We had money to burn. It was amazing how the free marketplace was working. It was just working beautifully. And the Americans were getting really wealthy, and bankers wanted that wealth. And so in 1913, there was a secret meeting held at Jekyll Island, Georgia. Why Jekyll Island? Well, it was an out-of-the-way place. No local newspapers or anything that would tell on what they were doing. No investigative reporters or spies or anything. So they held this secret meeting. And Jekyll Island, Georgia, J.P. Morgan was there. Every big bank in New York and Boston and Philadelphia, they were there. Bankers. Even Rothschild sent a representative from Europe to get in on this theft. And they sat there on Jekyll Island having their mint juleps and their cocktails and plotted how to steal America's wealth. And they came up with a really good plan. First, they would have to get an amendment passed to take an income tax from the working man. An income tax. Now they started out by trying to fool everybody by setting the income tax so high that you wouldn't be hit unless you were a big dollar lawyer or something like that. And so they faked the American people off by making you think, oh, it'll be so high that I won't ever be charged a tax. Yeah, boy, that's the way they always start out. Thieves always start out with ways to fool you. Now, the second thing they had to do was set up what's called a Federal Reserve. Now, there's nothing federal about it. They used that name to fool the American people. But it was a branch of the banks. It was owned and controlled by the banks. And this Federal Reserve would loan money to the government at a real good high interest rate. And this is the way the banks would steal the American wealth. Is what they would do is they would charge an income tax. This would bring in tremendous wealth into the American Treasury. And once the money was there, uh, then the banks would loan more money to the federal treasury, and they would stop the tariffs so that the federal government would have to borrow money, and they'd borrow it from the Federal Reserve. And this way, the banks would get this tremendous interest rate, which now I think is close to $1 trillion a year. It's just unbelievable how much money our government owes to this Federal Reserve, this conglomerate of banks that are ripping off the American people. In income tax, the federal government's taking anywhere from a third to half of everything you earn. And there's 40 more types of taxes that follow that. So the government is really, really raking in the money. I'll tell you, they're just... But anyway, once they got those tariffs lowered down, then the businesses moved to foreign countries to take advantage of cheap labor overseas. And without any tariffs, they could send these products back to the United States to sell here in the U.S. at a lot cheaper than when they manufactured it here in the United States. Because without the tariffs, they could take advantage of cheap labor, and labor is the big cost for business. And if they could get cheap labor, they did. You know, that's why textile companies moved from Massachusetts to South Carolina to take advantage of cheap rural labor. And then when they got rid of the tariffs, they moved over to Puerto Rico and Mexico and places like that to take advantage of real cheap labor, and then they could send their products back to the United States, not have to pay a tariff, and so everybody was getting rich, but the American people were getting ripped off and robbed. And that's why I like Trump's idea of getting rid of the income tax, going back to tariffs, back the way it used to be when the United States created more wealth for the individual, the middle class. So MAGA is working for the American people to get rid of the income tax. You know, he's already got rid of the tax on tips, tax on overtime and stuff like that, which was nothing but a government ripoff. And basically moved the government back to an honest, functioning entity where it ain't up there to screw the American people. And so we are getting out. I've got some, but anyway, that's what the government now is run by a bunch of bureaucrats. They're out to screw the American people. Look at some of the salaries of those people up there, and they don't ever do anything. You know what an ERG is? ERG. An ERG is a unit of work. I think one ERG is moving 1 gram, 1 centimeter, in 1 second. And if you take an erg meter and walk through the halls of Congress, the bureaucratic offices of our government, that needle on that erg meter would never move. And it's getting that way even in local government. They're overemploying people, getting all their relatives jobs, putting everybody to work, and taxing the heck out of the working man to pay for all that, sitting around doing nothing. Because government work is not that difficult. Most of it's computerized now. You know, I remember when the deeds office used to have one person who was elected, and then they got one secretary. They did everything by hand. Now it's all computerized, and they got so many employees you can't even walk through the place. Employees are supposed to help that one man, that one secretary do their work. Shoot, he just gave them the opportunity to hire more people. And they just got so many people in there now, you're just bumping all into each other. You know, it's amazing what's going on in government employment now. And you can't vote them out because so many people depend on their jobs through the government offices, local utility companies, which are government offices, public education, which are government offices. And they all rely on that for their income. And that's, my folks, that secret meeting down in Jekyll Island in 1913, where the banks and their representatives got together to plot how to rob the American people. And boy, for over 100 years, until the election of Donald Trump, they were doing it. And look at how they were wasting trillions of dollars, spending in foreign countries and global organizations and stuff. I mean, the United Nations does nothing for the United States except steal our money. We funded 2/3 to 9/10 of the United Nations, and all them countries over there would steal our money use the United Nations to steal our money and buy gold beds, gold-laden beds, and stuff like that. It's just absolutely unbelievably amazing. And the World Bank was nothing but a way to redistribute the American wealth. And World Health Organization distributed American wealth. Did nothing for anybody's health anywhere. All they did was redistribute American wealth. And folks, we need to wake up. We need to get back to the real business of making ourselves rich and wealthy, and to hell with these foreign countries where they don't have a free market. And if they do have a free market, they're too lazy to get off their butts and work and earn. And they don't have the intelligence to figure out how to earn money. They know how to steal. They're good at that. Look at Nigeria. Did you ever get an email telling you somebody died in Nigeria and left you $50 million? Boy, I used to get them things. You know what I'd do? I'd send them back. I'd respond, say, look, you're going about that the wrong way. You put that money in a trunk, put a steel belt around it, and ship it to me. And that way, the government won't know. If I give you my bank account for you to transfer that money to my bank, which was their way of getting your account number and all that, and stealing every penny you had in your bank. And I'd tell them that's the wrong way, because the government watches the banks, and that way if you put it in my bank account, then the government's going to get more than half of it. And if you just put all that money in a big trunk, put a steel band around it, lock it down tight, and ship it to me, that way the bank won't know anything about it, the government won't know anything about it, and we'll have all that wealth. Then you could come over here and I'd give you half your money back. And I actually had one respond to that response. So I had some fun out of that Nigerian. But he didn't get a penny out of me. He didn't get my bank account number. But I used logic and common sense and reason against him and blew him out of the water. But anyway, I just can't believe Americans fall for this kind of crap. But that's what they're good at. They're good at stealing. Look what's happening in Minnesota. Now, with all these Somalis that Barack Obama brought over here, he brought like 70,000 of them over here. Well, they're nothing but pirates over there in Somalia. What the hell do you think they were going to do over here? They were going to be pirates. And they basically got their hands on our government accounts, and stupid politicians like Waltz and Kamala Harris and Biden and Obama and people like that helped them steal our national treasury by the billions. And it's a shame that we allow all that to go on. Gavin Newsom stealing government money out there in California. They can't pay for anything themselves. They're like the seventh wealthiest economy in the world, state of California, and they still can't pay their own bills. They have to steal from our federal government. It's just absolutely amazing. That fast train that they were supposed to build in California, and they ain't even got the first rail laid yet. And something like $50 billion has already been spent. On what? Committee meetings. It's amazing how they steal your money. And people have to wake up. The working man has to wake up, put a stop to all this theft. Look what Doge discovered. The amount of theft that was going on. USAID. You know, that big fat black witch down there in Georgia, Stacey Abrams, she got $2 billion from USAID. Before that, she was broke, in debt, and everything. And now, she's a billionaire. Living in a mansion, wearing $1,000 dresses and stuff like that. It's amazing how they steal. Look at Chelsea Clinton sitting up there in a $1 million apartment in New York, multi-million-dollar apartment. New York, she got $84 million from USA. For what? It's absolutely amazing how we let these Democrats and thieves steal from us and get away with it. It just, Trump's, his Department of Justice now is trying to do stuff. I just wish Pam Bondi worked a little harder and a little faster and a little more intelligently and would lock more of these people up. But at least, thank God, we finally elected a president who knows how to get stuff done, and they're trying to get America back to where it's not stealing from the working man and giving it to all these Democrats to sit around and do nothing for the rest of their lives. You know, Obama, he wasn't worth maybe $1 million when he went into the presidency. Now he's sitting up there, he's got almost 2 or 3 mansions in some of the wealthiest places in America, and he's living off the American government. He's worth somewhere between $40 and $100 million now. You know, look at Hillary Clinton. She ain't ever lifted a finger in her life. All she has ever done is steal. That's all Democrats know how to do, is steal from the working man. And we let them hold that secret meeting down at Jekyll Island, pass that income tax, get rid of tariffs. They move the burden of our government from the backs of foreign companies wanting to sell their products over here. They moved it from them to the backs of the working man in America, and that's what we let them people do down there when they held that secret meeting in Jekyll Island in 1913, and they plotted to steal the American wealth from the American working man, who, we're still the wealthiest country on earth, and we could be a lot wealthier And let me tell you something, this wealth has not been wasted, because that wealth has been used to come up with ways to make life better for all mankind, to come up with things like penicillin and the internal combustion engine and all the things that make life easier and cleaner and healthier. and 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 they want to badmouth us like we're some kind of evil country, and that we're some kind of evil people. Hey, I don't buy into those lies, not for 1 second. The white people are the greatest people on earth. The white people have done more to help everybody. We've had some bad white people, but hey, but at least the white people have the good people who are Christians, who take care of the world, who care for the world, care for their fellow man, and they do everything. They rely on honesty, truth, justice, and the American way, the free market system, and hard work to create wealth. And that's the American way. And if we can get these socialists and these thieves out of the way, there's no limit to what mankind can do. But there'll always be people who will hold secret meetings in dark, smoke-filled rooms, drinking their cocktails and plotting how to steal from the American people and the hard-working people on earth. So, hey, there you go. This is your hillbilly historian trying to learn you. That's what I do. I learn people. I don't teach, I learn them. And bring you truth, justice, the history you'll not find in your textbooks from the hills of Appalachia here in East Tennessee. You have a good day.